Good morning. So the last little video I was talking about wisdom, and I talked about it in quite a formal way, I suppose, talking about what Buddhism has to say about wisdom. And today I'm going to talk about it in a more practical way. How do we apply the Dharma to our lives? How do we bring wisdom into our activities? So that's what I'm going to talk about. So I thought I'd talk about it in terms of body, speech and mind. So as you know, Buddhism gives great weight to each of those, but perhaps most to mind. So I'll start with the body. So how can we apply wisdom to our body? I think the key here is mindfulness of the body. And as you know, often when I lead meditations, I'll begin with having an awareness of the body in all sorts of ways. And the reason for that is because when we are truly inside, you could say, the felt sensations of the body, it's something direct, it's undeniable experience. It's something, you can't deny, you feel it. And that takes us away from all the kind of speculating that goes on in the mind. We've got something direct to focus on. So mindfulness is very important. But we can think about body in other ways, applying wisdom. So we can walk with awareness. Some of you will have done walking meditation, but I'm thinking more of just walking generally. So I'm sure we've all had the experience of being in a crowd. Maybe we're going shopping, maybe we're in a town, and there's a lot of people about. And it's a place where we can really see a lack of mindfulness. People bumping into each other, people on their phones and not really taking any notice of where they're walking. It's very uncomfortable to be in that situation. And, often we do walk with a lot of unawareness. And I'd say in a way we should think about whether we could walk gracefully rather than clumsily, with graceful awareness. There's something very beautiful about people that walk with awareness. I always remember Sangharakshita. I think it was on a day when we all got together, hundreds and hundreds of us, somewhere in London. I think it was at Goldsmiths College, actually. And I think it was only about the second time I'd ever seen Sangharakshita. And he was walking to a particular building. I was some way behind him. And he just walked with such mindful awareness. It was quite a slow walk, but it was poised. It was just very peaceful to watch, actually. So you can even walk with peacefulness. So that is mindful walking. We can also be sensitive to the body in what we feed it. Literally, what we feed it. So a lot of the time, we're not very aware of what we put into the body and how it affects us. Or even worse, we're aware, but we don't do anything about it to rectify that. So I know that for myself, It's like as I've got older, I want something sweet. Usually sometime in the afternoon I get a real craving for it. And that's what it is. It's a craving. And it's very hard to resist that, isn't it? We might have all sorts of intentions, but sticking to those intentions is not easy. So being mindful of what we eat, whether we really need what we eat, and feeding it with good foods rather than rubbish foods. And then there's exercise. Do we get enough exercise? Do we look after our body? Do we appreciate what I talked about another day, which was the preciousness of human life? So we don't want to get over concerned with the body, but we do want to look after it. So in all those ways, That might sound strange to say that's bringing wisdom into our lives, but it is. It is bringing wisdom into our lives. So in the time of the Buddha, when people became nuns and monks, they, well, as you know, they would shave their head, they would wear a simple robe, and they would carry a begging bowl. And in a way, all that is a reflection of a mindful awareness and an application of wisdom. So, you know, if you haven't got any hair, you don't have to worry about having a bad hair day. If you've got a simple robe, you don't have to make a choice about what you put on, about what you're going to wear. If you carry a begging bowl, I mean, we wouldn't get away with doing that nowadays, and go from house to house to get alms, then actually you just take what you're given. So it adds a level to your life then of simplicity, of great simplicity. Now, I'm not suggesting we live like that at all, but we can think about what we eat, you know, about the preoccupation that we have with what we look like and so on. Certainly it's a lesson for me. You know, I have to make an effort to do that. So moving on to speech. Well, if we bring to mind the speech precepts, we've got truthful speech. That's the first of the 4 speech precepts, is truthful speech. And obviously there's truthfulness in terms of accuracy, in terms of not lying. And maybe we're not particularly truthful, or maybe we're very truthful, but it's, you know, we can always go deeper. So we can think about the ways that we're not quite there, not quite truthful. For example, we might exaggerate. We might use exaggerated speech when we're telling a story about something, we're telling about an incident. And maybe that's because it makes it more exciting, or it makes us seem more exciting, or it's going to make people laugh. There can be all sorts of ways that we kind of bend the truth. Not that there's anything wrong in laughing, of course, but it's just worth thinking about, what do we do? How do we stretch the truth? Perhaps we do it to get out of trouble, to not be criticised. So these are all ways that we kind of bend the truth, not by just telling lies, but just by stretching things a bit. And of course, we might think that the truth isn't always the best thing to say, truthful speech. It might be that we're trying to protect somebody and that we don't use truthful speech. But I think it's worth thinking, even if we think in terms of, well, we're just protecting someone, we don't want to hurt them, to think about, is that right, or are you just afraid to say the truth? Because we can always say the truth kindly. It doesn't have to be said unkindly. I've been very impressed recently in these times of COVID, because I've noticed that in hospitals I've seen circumstances where doctors have said to people that are dying that actually they haven't got a very good chance of survival. I think this is quite new. I think doctors in the past have been very reluctant to actually tell people the truth, maybe that they've got a terminal illness. You know, they're programmed in a way to save lives. So maybe there's been a bit of a change, that actually in these times of COVID, they know they can't save some of these lives. They can't save them. And that people need to know they need to be able to say goodbye to their loved ones. I think that could be very positive, actually. I think we need more awareness around the truth around life and death. So I'm not going to go into all the other speech precepts, because that will probably take too long, really, for this short talk. I might talk about them another time. But I want to move on to mind and the wisdom in our mind. And I think here we need to notice how we are affected by what we feed the mind. So just as we feed the body, we do feed the mind. What do we expose ourselves to through what we read, what we watch on television, the kind of films we see, and even the kind of friends we have. We know that some friends that we're with, maybe we just get into gossip. Maybe it's not particularly healthy. Maybe we come away feeling like, well, we may be energized, but actually we haven't been very skillful in how we've spoken. So, what we allow to be in our minds is very much affected by what we're feeding our minds with all the time, what we're exposing ourselves to. And of course, society is always thrusting influences at our mind, and that is very, very prominent with regard to phone apps. Yes, what we're fed in terms of some of the technology today that is aimed precisely at getting us, at manipulating us into spending more and more time, say, on a mobile phone, so that we pay more, so that we help those people that make phones get rich, basically. It's very difficult today, I think, because we have got so many influences. And we don't always recognise that we've got a choice, because it can feel sometimes like we haven't. We're just pulled in silently to these habits. And what we're trying to do when we practice with wisdom, we're trying to undo some of those habits, undo some of the conditioning, and then make more wise choices. Choices that actually take us forward, that improve our lives. So I've gone over 12 minutes, so I think I'm going to leave it there for today. And I'll see you again soon. Bye.